David, you founded Tumblr 10 years ago, which is kind of hard to imagine. So what was Tumblr back then, and what's Tumblr now?
Tumblr started with a pretty modest.
You are.
I don't know if the mic is alright. Tumblr
Yeah.
started.
I could lean in really close, but that might get awkward.
All right, so Tumblr started with really pretty modest expectations. So it intended to be a publishing platform that did publishing a little bit differently at a time where there were lots of ways to publish, but they were all very kind of narrow in focus, right? You put your short little posts over here on Twitter, you could put video on YouTube, you could write long articles on WordPress, you could put your photos on Flickr. Tumblr basically came along and said, hey, we want a place where you can publish all of it and express your full self. It pretty quickly started to evolve, and so much of that evolution was really following the most interesting stuff that our community was doing. It was realizing that, oh man, so much of what people are posting they were actually finding on Tumblr. So introducing the ability to actually reblog from other blogs all of a sudden created this whole network of curators. Realizing that RSS as a consumption tool was not delivering on the full experience we knew that could be there. So introducing the ability to follow other blogs on Tumblr suddenly gave birth to this whole network of kind of creators and curators and audience following all of this great stuff that was going on Tumblr. 10 years in, as we've gotten very introspective in this last few years, since we were coming up on our 10-year anniversary this last February. The biggest evolution that's been happening along the way has really been a move away from that most kind of modest sense of Tumblr as a publishing platform to Tumblr really becoming this congregation point, this community platform for so many people who wouldn't have really had a chance to find each other otherwise. They're not people that know each other in real life. They're not celebrity. They don't come in with an established brand, but they have a voice, a purpose, and in this very kind of meritocratic way, they're able to kind of rise up and find their people through the things that they are obsessed with, the things that they're creating, and the things that they share. So Tumblr today, I think, has really evolved from just a purely kind of publishing platform to a place where people come to find the other people that are obsessed with the same things that they are.
And let's do like a kind of dive into your user base then. So you're at about 500 million users now, is that right?
We reach an audience of about 500 million people all over the world.
Right, okay. And I presume your user base is slightly smaller than that.
Yes,
but still kind of larger than Twitter and Snapchat, still a lot larger than some people might think. So tell me a little bit more about what those users are like, what age they are, what they come in here for.
Yeah, so they actually span, we get a lot of credit for being a pretty young user base. It actually really spans a pretty wide breadth of demographics in terms of age. It's always been about a 50-50 split on gender. It's been a very global audience. About 40% of our audience is US, but then there is a lot of representation from a whole lot of Europe, a whole lot of Asia, a whole lot of Latin America. I think the thing that these communities really do share is the kind of what they come together around is the really common factor in all of this. And what you really do find in our demographic, in our user base that really does stand apart, really is so unique, is this obsession, this shared obsession with any number of topics. Sometimes that can be that obsession with the show, the television show, or the characters that has this intense fandom around it. Sometimes it can be a social movement or cultural movement like a Black Lives Matter or an LGBT community. So it really, in terms of demographics, kind of wide breadth, but in terms of what people are here for, while the interests might be spectacularly diverse, that passion is really a kind of truth across all of our everybody that uses Tumblr.
And David, you're a pretty passionate person yourself, and you've got behind lots of big social issues, social movements, should I say. And you've also kind of used the power of Tumblr to push for social change and social good. Can we talk a little bit about that, some of the work that Tumblr's done in those areas?
I'd be careful because the way you describe it makes it sound like these are a lot of my own kind of initiatives and are kind of using the platform to push those forward. The truth is it's really flipped. The truth is this was really our response to realizing that there were so many people and so many of these movements that were really being born out of Tumblr or really being kind of energized and building up momentum in Tumblr, where we said, like, shit, this is meaningful, and this is really important. These issues that people are, these rights that people are fighting for, these cultural movements that people are trying to create, these topics are important. And it seemed really kind of, it started to feel imperative that if we were going to continue to, tell ourselves and tell our community that we're here to support them, that for us to not stand there beside them in these moments that were like critically important to them, that we weren't really living up to everything that we wanted to be and everything that we had promised these communities. So I mean, sometimes that was simply making sure that we were elevating those voices in the community, to make sure that they were really, when they had a powerful, positive message, that was getting the reach that it deserved.
Page or
yeah, and I mean, there are a bunch of places where content gets kind of elevated in Tumblr. Sometimes, as an example, that's specific programming, that is to say, activations and things that we do. So it would be doing a big, we have our answer times, which are big Q&As that go out in front of the entire Tumblr audience. So it's inviting somebody from that community to come in and do a big open Q&A with everybody on Tumblr. Sometimes it's actually showing up at the protests. So when our team and I went down to our international airport in New York, JFK, standing outside the international terminal with thousands of other New Yorkers protesting the immigration ban. It can take any number of forms, but trying to be there and showing up for these communities that need allies in those moments.
What are the big issues that your community has told you to lean into this year going forward as well?
Yeah, I'd say some of those movements that have really become, fixtures of, what we do and what the shape of, the shape of Tumblr today. I mean, first of all, there are many, but I mean, some examples of them would be racial justice, gender equality, LGBT rights. I mean, are ones that are, again, they just have incredibly organized, thoughtful communities on Tumblr that are doing such a good job of just propelling those conversations forward. And they're doing it in, the most, I think, thoughtful, inclusive way you could ever ask for. I mean, they're telling these stories, they're sharing their stories, and they're explaining the stuff, talking about the stuff in a way that really helps bring everybody in, helps people that want to be allies understand how to be effective allies, and help, I think, start to change minds of people that have maybe found themselves on the other side of these conversations.
Over the past couple of years, we've certainly seen the rise of the, should we say, kind of woke tech platforms, tech companies. And a lot of the things you're talking about are very kind of liberal issues, or these issues to which liberals would assign themselves to. As both a tech leader and as a tech company, how do you ensure you kind of lean in, but almost not too far, so you don't isolate those other members of the community which may have a different point of view, but whose views are just as important and just as valid?
One of the things that's so, first of all, so many of these causes that we really get behind are one about, they're so easy to put our hearts behind because they are inherently inclusive, right? They're not about, one idea is right, one idea is right. It's really about, supporting people that, are under attack in any given moment. Or any particular circumstances. What's so great about so many of those voices fighting for these progressive causes, and those voices that we find on Tumblr that we end up elevating, the ones that are good, the ones that are doing the best job at propelling those causes forward and building that narrative, are already doing it in such an inclusive way. That's what makes them those great thought leaders. It's that they're finding ways to kind of bring you in and get it, and understand their experiences, see their perspective, and that's not something that I think I or our platform is inherently, that's not something that we're going to be able to nail or get right, but we're in this very fortunate position to be able to be there for these incredible leaders, these incredible voices who are doing it, and so often all we're doing is just showing up to come stand next to them and maybe lift them up to make sure that voice really gets heard.
How do you feel about the current level of discourse online? I kind of feel like I open up my computer and everybody's yelling at each other, and it can be quite a horrible place right now. So how do you feel about it? And also, what can you do to help neutralize that out a bit, make it a bit of a happier place?
Yeah. Look, I think, I can tell you myself, and I think a lot of the people working on these platforms right now, those are the leadership teams, those are the engineers down at the ground who are having to build all of this stuff. I think everybody is really troubled by how this discourse looks and feels. I mean, our experience in the U.S. right now is one where you just realize that folks who are just on such polar opposite sides of these conversations now used to have a little bit of a geographic buffer between each other, used to have elected officials up there kind of representing them. Now we're like facing off every single day people who have never met before and are just coming in with completely different worldviews. That's a hard question to answer. I think where we've tried to focus is where is there positive stuff happening that we can support, and to just make sure that we are always thinking about and paying attention to whatever those downsides might be, to make sure that we're protecting from them. So the real downsides, I think, are not so much that people are finally seeing each other for the first time. I mean, that's something that society will need to kind of reconcile, but I don't think that's inherently bad. Stuff that I do think is inherently bad is any time these platforms kind of inadvertently end up kind of empowering toxicity or allow that to take over in too prevalent a way. The kind of stuff I am excited about is designing products. I'm a product guy. I like to believe that we can really you can change the way that we live our lives, make these online spaces better, more positive environments in the way that we design them. In the same way that architecture can encourage us to be more social, more open, more transparent. I like to believe that designing these spaces thoughtfully means that we can get people to show up and engage in a positive way. So the kinds of things that have been working there on Tumblr, the kind of things that we try to design for, making sure that when positive ideas show up on Tumblr, they have an opportunity to spread in a really meritocratic way. Making sure that when bad ideas show up on Tumblr, they get effectively dragged down by all of the good ideas. So very kind of tangible example of that. If I post something really miserable on Tumblr, as it spreads around, if let's say it was actually spreading around, it will have attached to it as it spreads all of those positive ideas that are being kind of attached to it in the reblogging, or all of those reactions. That is positive to say all of the kind of opposing ideas will actually get attached to that as it travels around. So that means if I show up with some really hateful, vitriolic message, if it's going, first of all, hopefully it doesn't move around too much, but as it does, it will be kind of weighed down by all of the, all of those opposing views, lots of thoughtful people offering, all of the reasons that, that vitriol is wrong. So there are a lot of things like that that I think, we as product companies can do to make sure that these platforms generally, give more space for positive ideas to grow and create more opportunities to oppose, frankly, the bad ideas.
Sure, let's impress them. So on the subject of product then, what else can we have to look forward to from Tumblr in the coming year? What are you working on? What's exciting?
So I mentioned it's how so much of the evolution of Tumblr over the last 10 years has been from purely a kind of creative expression publishing platform to really this kind of congregation point and this community platform. That's been a little bit of a psychological jump for our team to make, I think. It's certainly been one for me to make, and really appreciating that, man, the most important stuff, this just comes from lots of user research, lots of market studies, just understanding why our users are so excited about Tumblr today versus all of the other platforms that they have out there right now. And the thing that is so unique that they in Tumblr that they're finding, that they're showing up for every day, is this the ability to find the people that are obsessed with the same things that they are. Again, to be able to get out of their kind of high school network, to be able to get out of just the same big celebrities that are kind of broadcasting to them all the time, and instead find the people who really share the same passions that they do, and find other real peers, other people like them who might have been strangers before they met on Tumblr, but now have so much in common here. Once it's, as it started to click for us that is the promise of Tumblr for so many of the people that are coming here, we've started to really reimagine Tumblr and reimagine our roadmap going out the next 10 years as this platform that really is the best home for all of these communities of people that just care passionately about whatever they care about.
So Tumblr over the last 10 years, it's fair to say, has kind of overcome some turbulence. A few years ago you were bought by Yahoo, and it's no secret that there was a little bit of friction at first. And now you're a Verizon company. What does that mean? Tumblr under Verizon, do they rate you in?
First of all, so our parent company, Oath, is sort of this kind of media house of brands inside Verizon. And Oath is, and I would say most of our relationship with our parent company is really with Oath, which has been spectacularly supportive. First of all, it includes a lot of the same Yahoo team that we had been working with the last 4 years. And there have certainly been some bumps, but generally, I give that team so much credit. I look back so fondly on these last few years, and we've had a tremendous amount of support over there. And actually, a big part of why I was so encouraged coming into Oath and Verizon was that we were getting to keep working with a lot of those people that had been some of our most successful collaborators at Yahoo over the last few years. So, it's corporate. It's a very, it's definitely a different way of kind of thinking and working in many regards.
What about the issue stuff? I mean, you were a big supporter of net neutrality, for example. I imagine Verizon has some different views from you. How does that work?
Well, first of all, I hope that they are getting, to a good place on all of those issues, and it's a fight that is certainly very important to me that I hope I get to keep pushing from the inside. This is, again, just a real credit to Oath here, where they've given us space and our voice to continue to be true to us, and most importantly, our community. So, we participated in the Net Neutrality Day of Action this summer with, by the way, the most encouraging thing about that moment was the first time that Tumblr was really fighting for net neutrality in the US a few years ago. We were one of a handful of internet companies that were actually showing up to that fight. This time around, it was everybody. So, to be able to join that day with the Googles and Facebooks and Snapchats of the world was really, that was a pretty remarkable moment. And we were there, taking our position loud and clear. So, again, I think it's a real credit to Oath in giving all of their brand space to stay true to themselves here.
Sure. So now, over the last 10 years, there have been some real culture-defining moments taking place on Tumblr. So we had the blue and the black and the white and the gold and whatever colour dress that was. We have Taylor Swift, who has become your biggest power user, particularly her memorable anti-Apple Music essay. What's been your proudest moment?
One that's hard to describe and talk about, but I mean truly the ones that have always stayed with me the most are, in the long list of kind of strong communities that you'll find on Tumblr, one of the strongest really have been around mental health, around intervention in suicide, intervention in depression, treatment and support through depression, reducing stigma of mental illness. These are some remarkable communities on Tumblr and some really brave, incredible people and voices. And because of that, a story I've been told a remarkable number of times in my career have been from people who come up to us and tell us that Tumblr saved their lives. And we always insist that wasn't us, that wasn't me, that was the incredible people that make Tumblr more than just an empty blue website, right? It's the people that are there that make this thing so special and so impactful on so many humans today. And to hear that from people who feel like they had that experience here, to hear that from parents who saw their kids go through that here, that is an incredible thing and a real privilege to be able to work on and work through.
I think we can all agree that's a fantastic note to end on. If we could all give a big round of applause to David Karp, founder of Tumblr. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the stage will now break for lunch. Content will resume in 45 minutes. Please make sure to arrive in time to secure seating.